In 2016, Sharon van Rouwendaal clinched Olympic gold in the 10-kilometre open water event at Rio. Despite this, she felt like she was still learning how to race properly in open water. Fast forward to the Paris Olympics preparation, Sharon, still on her learning curve, has recently dominated the World Championships, securing gold in both the 5 and 10-kilometre events. Beyond her victories, Sharon shattered a personal record by swimming 110 kilometres in a week during a training camp just weeks out from the World Champs, eclipsing her previous best of 109 kilometres. In this episode, we delve into Sharon's relentless pursuit of excellence, exploring how she's overcome a serious shoulder injury, how she manages recovery and nutrition during intense training, and how finishing second in multiple races has paradoxically been one of the best things for her, sculpting her mental resilience under the stringent mentorship of her former coach and her search for knowledge and improvement with her new coach. We get into that and more on today's podcast episode with Olympic gold medalist Sharon van Rouwendaal. One of the best open water swimmers in the world at the moment, and doubling up on the 5K and 10-kilometre gold at World Championships, but Sharon van Rouwendaal. Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem. I'm happy to join.
So tell me about the two recent wins. How long had you been wanting to do the double with the 5 and the 10-kilometre to win gold in both of those?
So I've done this a very long time. And first, maybe you think like double is not possible. But I've seen Florian Wellbrook doing it last summer in Fukuoka, my training partner. And even Leonie Beck did it. And then so you start to think, well, it is actually possible if you get a good recovery out of it. And of course, lately, World Aquatics have planned their World Championships a little bit different with more rest in between the races. So it is possible. But because I've been through a lot since Fukuoka, I was very hungry for Doha. So I missed the touch in Fukuoka. So the podium was 0.1 second. Came in 4th. And of course, I knew I did a very great race and I was in top form. I was disappointed because I was like, this is not where I trained for. And then I did a medal on the 5K. It was great. I proved that I was in top form. And then I wanted to win the overall World Cup in December. And on 0.1 second, I came in 8th, and Leonie Beck, who was the tied leader with me, came in 7th. So she won the overall. And after that, I just went for to my parents a few days. And I was like, in Doha, this is not going to happen to me again. Or I'll win with 0.1 second So I came in back from Christmas and we had this camp in Pretoria in the sun in altitude. And I felt really good and really happy and wanted to do extra. So I asked my coach, like, hey, what is our record? Well, did we do before Tokyo with the kilometers in the week? How much did we do? And he said, 109. I said, let's go 110. So I was just playing a little bit, but when I play like that, I get a lot of confidence. And so somehow I went into this focus tunnel. And when I went to Doha, I was like, hey, I swam a world record in the pool once here on the floor times 200. I got some medals here, so let's crush it in Doha. But of course, this is all stuff in my head that I make up. Like I say, Doha, I'm always good in Doha, so I have to be good in Doha. And I knew somehow I was going to win it or would win it. Didn't know how. Even if there were people in the way, I was never giving up. But to win a double, I wasn't thinking about the 5K. I was only thinking about the 10. So when I went into the 10K, of course, the day itself, you shit your pants. I mean, you're like, I was so confident the days before. Now I have to show people what I said to that coach. I said I could win it, and I said to my parents, but I don't like to say it. I hate it. So I would always say I could make a medal or I'm in good form, but I wouldn't say it on camera. I was going to win it. And then the day itself, you're like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. I get sick. I almost vomit at breakfast. that type of sickness, but I need to have it. Yeah, and then during the race, there's so much stuff happening, right? But then you win it, and it's the best feeling ever. Also because you wanted to prove that point, that also the downs you got the way to it. So the Fukuoka, and then everything with a 1/10, and then winning by 1/10 made it for me like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's. I want to kind of go back to something that you mentioned earlier, because I was going to ask you about this. It's that 110 kilometer week that you did. How many? Tell me in a bit more detail about that week. How many sessions? How do you recover in between? How do you feel after it? Because I saw that number, and I think you had it written on the whiteboard, and I was like, wow, that is insane. Like, I don't know many people doing weeks as big as that.
Yeah, so was actually we were doing 9K, 8.5, 9K, 8.5. So Monday, Tuesday twice, Wednesday once, Thursday, Friday twice, Saturday twice, and Sunday once. So it's 12 sessions, if I'm correct. Yeah. And on Wednesday, I was like, hey, if we're going to do like last week, but we have 2 sessions more, it could be like 106, 107. And I realized this on Wednesday. And then I was calculating, oh, but then I need 9K, at least 9K everywhere. And on Sunday, I need 10. So I talked to my coach and I said, let's check. And I was convinced it was only 107, my record. And he said it's 109. And that was before Tokyo. And we did 3 sessions a day there. So on a Monday and on a Friday before Tokyo at the altitude camp, we did 3 sessions. So we'd be like 8K, 8K, 9K, and 4K, like a sprint session or something. And so, yeah, so on. And then I said, let's do it. And I started to feel it really on Friday. I was like, what am I getting myself into now? And on Sunday morning at the last session, I had 10.7, and I felt great, actually. And then my friend and teammate, Moesha Johnson, she said, let's write it on the board. You need to mark this down. And then I could say at the age of 30, I did my max kilometers. And my coach was like, yeah, but we can do it before Paris. And I said, no, if we can do it now, we do it now. And we do it again for Paris. But I want to, for my self-confidence and for just, there's been some talk about with my age in the group. I'm much older than the rest. So I just wanted to prove a point that I could do it.
Do you feel like that was part of the confidence going into World Championships?
Yeah, for sure. With me, I have to play these type of games, I guess. So, it's that type of stuff really gives me confidence. And then I would be on the starting position and be like, I did 110K that week. So the week after, we went for 70, and that felt like taper. And so me and my coach were like, we're not going to taper too much for this one. I said, no. I could do it right now. Like in Pretoria, I felt so good that I said I could do it right now. So in between those sessions, I also did 12 swims, and the swims are around about 2 hours 20. Of course, when you have 10K, it's longer, 2 hours 45. But there you have you stop, you drink, you talk, that kind of stuff. And then in between, I also had like weights, or we call it band work or core work, that kind of stuff. And it was like 45 minutes after the morning session. And then in the evening, I would be done around 5:36, and I would eat, have physio, and then do like recovery boots or something like that. So I could sleep really early because I was done early. And sometimes I struggle when we swim late. You're done late, and I don't sleep good. So my overnight recovery was good there.
How long does it take you to fall asleep after?
I know I'm a trouble sleeper. You wouldn't. My nights are like 6 hours, and it take like sometimes 1 hour to fall asleep with melatonin. So, but there I had like 30% more sleep than the other camps, because the other camps we trained late. So it was overnight. The recovery was super good.
Wow. And you said you came out of that feeling good, like you didn't pay the price for that a week or 2 weeks later where you just couldn't train very well, or you had to recover from that big week. It made you feel stronger.
Yeah, I think I'm then in that mental state that I'm like, probably I'm not even, the head makes it like you don't feel that you're tired because I'm not allowed to be tired, or I'm in my taper, or I have 70K that's taper compared to 110. So I'm gonna make my body feel that's taper. Or so I think I'm in that mindset then, that's full of confidence, that I'm making myself also like say that I'm in top form, which I was, but my head's even making it better than that it was.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I had a guest on last week. His name's James Lawrence, and he did 100 Ironmans in 100 days, which was world record. And he said the gift that he was given was to suffer. What would you say your gift is?
Yeah, I think I learned something in France with my old coach, Philippe Lucas. He's a very, very tough coach, and he would talk to us at first really badly, and then in the competitions, he would say we're the best, and he would lift us up with a great speech. But there I had to be very tough, and there were these mental games and like stuff I had to prove to him that I'm Sharon, I'm the gold medal winner. And sometimes he wouldn't even talk to me and like say, "You dare," and then I would say, "You dare." I'll prove to him tomorrow who I am, And
Yeah.
that's where I got the toughness from. So when I came here with my coach Berghan, he's very calm and a good person. Of course, he can be like sometimes maybe, well, not angry, but it's a coach, so sometimes it doesn't always work out good. But he's a very good and stable coach. And so I think I've learned a lot with Lieb, and then now with Bernd, I learned a lot too. And I got that mental state. I learned that in France, I think, to be very tough.
And you've been able to, and now having that toughness, you feel has helped you, where you've now got a coach where it sounds like it's maybe a more enjoyable training environment, or just a different culture that you're a part of now.
I think, well, in France, there were like a lot of jokes around the pool, and there was stuff happening, and that athlete was fighting with that one, and that one was like throwing pedals to the other one, and the other one partied, and Philippe was like, what's this? And so there was entertainment. And I think in Germany, we're just all good people and very focused on what they do. So they're very, very focused, and they know the goal they want, and they're gonna do it. But it's just every day like the same. So it makes it, sometimes you miss the entertainment when you swim, but sometimes, so it's very different, but I think it's a very professional environment to train. So you really need to, if you want to train here, you need to train here with your goal, and then you'll make the goal. But if you're searching for motivation or something, then it's better to go somewhere else in a like fun group who's not as professional as this one.
I remember you mentioning, or I think I read it somewhere, that like you won the gold medal in Rio in 2016 in the 10K, but you look back and you feel like you didn't understand open water racing. It wasn't until only 4 or 5 years ago that you feel like you started to understand it. What did you learn, and what have you changed as a result of that learning open water swimming and the strategy behind it?
So when I became Olympic champion, I only did the open water for 2 years, and I just thought you could just swim away and break the pack, just swim. Like there's nothing that you have to follow people or be in the group, or that it would help. So in Rio, I just had this feeling, oh, you have to go now and just swim. And then I actually did that, and I won by 18 seconds. But then the years after, you start to notice like, it's not really working. One time I'm 16th, one time I'm first, one time I'm 8th. Like it was all, my results were a little bit all over the place because it's sometimes I got very tired because people swimming on me or in me, and I was like, well, what is this sport? So I did a few World Cups to learn, and I tried to stay in the pack, and took a long time actually to feel what I know right now, how it works. So yeah, that the drifting. So if you swim behind a person like this, that's like 2 seconds easier for the person who's swimming in the feet than the person who's swimming in front. And yeah, if you go next to that person, it's extra heavy for this person. That's all types of stuff. Yeah, how you take the buoys, of course, how you finish it, which I'm not a pro in finishing my touches, but I do practice it. It's just, um, yeah, and then also now there's this part where you think you have to look at your competitors. Which one do you know it's gonna be there at the end? Which one do you don't know, you don't want next to on the sprint? Which one is this heavy? Sometimes you feel people are very heavy. So what I say, like when they come next to you, you don't want that one. So you try to avoid. So there's a lot of this stuff that I know now that I didn't know in 2020, so 2019.
You, because in 2015 you got, I think, second at World Champs in the 400, and then started to take on more open water swimming. What are those? How have you changed your stroke or your training to go from that pool-based competitor to the open water?
So I switched. At some point, I was even a backstroke, and then I switched to freestyle again because I did freestyle in my younger years when I was 14, 15. And so I switched to France with Philippe Buchan 2000, September 2013. And he was giving me 2100s backstroke fast. I'm like, man, I can only do one or two. Like that's not max holding. I can only hold max holding 2 times in backstroke with the legs. And said, yeah, let's do freestyle. And so he wanted to put me on the 400 free. And I loved the 400 free because he had Pellegrini, he had Laura Manado, he had all these women who made Olympic medals or Olympic gold. And so at some point a year later, he said, let's try open water. So I went from 411 to 403 in 1 year on the 400 freestyle. And I don't know the other times. Yeah, I did 2 fly, 2 back, everything. And so he wanted to switch to open water. And at some point, the 10 times 400 free on 4:45 or 5 minutes were 20 times 400. So he just doubled the sessions from a 400 meter swimmer to a 10K. So at some point, we're just always training 10K sessions or 9K sessions to do also good 400. But I lost speed. I must say I lost speed for the 400, and I got shoulder injuries, and yeah, and then it's very hard to swim a 400 if you have to go all out the first 100 because you don't have the speed.
Yeah, do you talk to me about the shoulder injury that you had a couple of years back? So what do you feel like caused it, and how have you managed your shoulder health since then? Because I'm sure someone listening to this going, how on earth is she doing 110 Ks? I'm doing 10 Ks a week and I pull up a little bit stiff after that. So
Yeah.
what do you, what's the secret?
So yeah, I started with Philippe in 2013, and I got my problems 2 years after roundabout because I was like in the kitchen and everything, like the elbows starting to hurt, and then this part, and it was like just like little knives.
Throbbing, was it?
Yeah, like I was like, maybe it's just soreness. So I waited also, and he just did. At some point, first he didn't believe me, and then we stopped for a month, and we started again. And I was always swimming with a certain of pain, so always the biceps always was like hurting, or and then we did some backstroke because backstroke puts the shoulders back, and so when I started with him, I was always sitting like this, like this, everything to the front.
Like, yeah, hunched over. Yeah.
And at some point when I switched coaches, of course, we started training a lot for the back, because in the water we did a lot. Everything for freestyle was the front, the way I swim it back then. So I learned a lot also with my new coach in Germany, and I already tried to change a little bit the shoulder position in front. So what I did was that I would swim freestyle and then take the hand and then put this shoulder to the front, and this would pull a lot here. So now I'm just trying to get that shoulder back and focus with the back muscles actually. So there's a lot of stuff I changed in the gym, because there we did pull-ups and bench press and everything that made this sore. And I think I learned that in Germany, and everything in France was at a certain pace. You go in and you just swim, and he's there with the timing, and you're very confronted on times all the time. And in Germany, we start with technique, and we focus on how to put the shoulders and how to put the neck, and just like more healthy. And that's why I could swim the 110K, because maybe 90% of it was on a extensive, easy level, just focusing on very long strokes. So you do sort of weights in the water when you do those long strokes, so you get the power. And then there were some really like sprints, and you have to go really fast on the sprints. And sometimes there's a build, because in a race there's a build too. But never do we do 110K all out. And in France, I did 80K, but it was almost all out all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's a big difference. So it's not like I left France. I said, well, we did 7 years. I'm not learning anymore. I'm not getting those steps anymore. I'm just here, and it's up and down. I want to learn something new, and I need to learn, because otherwise I'm not going to improve. So I need to work on the sprints. I need to work on all the different levels. In France, I had this level, but I couldn't do a sprint.
And so because we were sort of going back and forth on Instagram when you posted a video with your like 6-beat kick, and then your normal, just more longer distance aerobic technique where it's a bit of a crossover kick. And so is that developing the 6-beat kick one of the things that's helped you be able to change your speed and have those different gears available? Is that one of the things that's really helped you just finish so strong?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes in a race, I don't have the guts to put the 6-kick beat in, because if you didn't use them a lot, sometimes they're stiff, and then just my feeling says you're gonna lactate so much. So I'm training on it. I switched to Germany, and I have a very good kick, because I've also kicked in France with the shoulder injuries. I did kick sets and other kick sets. So my kick is really good, and I have still those sort of backstroke legs that are really strong. And so we're like, well, why are you not using it? And I said, yeah, but when I learned swimming, it was like this dance. I went to crossover kick. It's my dance. It's my momentum. How do you want to do like a normal 6-kick? So when I do the normal 6-kick, I'm like in slow motion, and I still don't have the rhythm. I can't find the momentum. It's just something I can't find. But when I do the speed now, there's this sort of, it feels like a sort of motor behind that really kicks. So I'm super fast in sprints. And also when I build it, I can do the crossover, and then I build it to a 6-kick. But in the race, still after long distance, because I can lactate on it, it's still very hard to put the 6-kick. But I have a very strong kick. Even in Doha now, you can see that there is a strong kick in it. Just sometimes there is a 6-kick, sometimes not. But I think I've worked a lot on my speed and on that kick. So that made me very strong. On the 5K, you can see that there's very long strokes, and looks like straight arms, but there is a lot of power there in the last 200 meters of that race. And that's where I worked on for the last 3 years to get that also momentum with the kick and the power in the arms, and then passing the competitors.
Are there any other things that you've learned with your new coach in terms of technique or anything that you've worked on?
Oh yeah, I think I learn every day from him. So that's also when I think I wanted to start coaching myself later, because there are these problems that I didn't know that created the shoulder problems, that it just, if you stand up like this is much better than standing up like this, or just the little things. So he's just looking at my position, or we're also now trying to have that easier rotation in my body. So on dry land, we do a lot of new stuff now to get that rotation in the water going, and it also prevents the shoulders. But there's so much with the technique I've learned. So if I would teach little kids, I would say kick like this, not like this, even if I'm world champ or Olympic champ. That's just something I would recommend, because I can't change it. It took me 16 years, and still it's very hard to do it in the race.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the coaching there. So I know you've got some camps coming up in September or October?
September, yeah. It starts in September.
And is that, have you organized those camps as kind of part of that, thinking like you enjoy the coaching side of things and being able to teach what you've learned over your time as a professional swimmer?
Yeah, so it started actually, I think 1.5 years ago. I think I was on a camp, and I saw this boy doing this bend forward exercise where he pulls the cable and he pulls it with his back not straight. And so in France, I thought that's all fine, But now I'm like, no, he has to have to straighten, otherwise you're gonna have your problems. And that's where I was like, I actually know so much now about swimming. I've trained with Jaco Verhaeren, and then I've trained with Philippe Lucas and Bert Bergkamp. So I know so much about it. So why not wanting to share my experience? And then with the swimming and with the change of technique, I feel stuff. So also in my races, I swim on feeling, how I feel, how the rest is doing their thing, and then I search the momentum to go or not to go, and to change it to a sprint. So everything I do is on a sort of feeling, and there's so much you can feel in your body, and you can change it just by doing it on the dry land, and then you feel it in the water. And that's where I decided I want to build this. So I started the online coaching. I have 7 athletes now. I think half of it is from France, because that old coach of me was very famous, and they knew me, so we were quite famous together in France. And so they look up to you and they want to be coached by you. And I can also see their progression, because they're used to just swimming fast, but I asked them to swim very slow, and just I give them some my videos of where I do the technique exercises. So there's catch up, or there's 8 or 10 exercises I give them, and I show them how I do it, and I try to explain how they should do it. And the amount of progression they made in 6 months is really impressive. I mean, at first I thought, no, let's see if I can do it, or if I can be a good coach. Let's try. But they are really excited. Also, just these little exercises, or the dry land, they get with the Tarabon, they do the exercises to feel the stuff, to straighten the shoulders, and they can really feel it. So it's not just that I'm making it up. It's just that it's working. So what's working for me is working for other people.
Yeah. And you've been in the sport for quite a while, and probably gone through a lot of ups and downs, and had to learn some things the hard way, and just having that body awareness and awareness around what's involved in the racing with the strategy and then what you need to do in training. Like you've got a huge depth of knowledge there. And I mean, I've found that as a coach going from a swimmer up until I was 18 and then mostly starting coaching from there. It's a different way of thinking about things. And actually, I think it makes you a better swimmer because you've got to figure out how to explain these things to people that first you can just do, but then you've got to think about, well, how can I actually explain this to someone else?
Yeah. So like last time there was this question, how do you put what do you mean with putting my shoulder like this? So I was like, how can I explain it? Then I was like, well, I'm just going to make a video now like this. And I said, well, you do this. So here you're going to have shoulder problems. Just keep it in with your back muscles. And then there's so much you can explain already on dry land. You don't even have to explain it in the water. And then, of course, I sent them other videos, but sometimes you're like, oh, how can I explain this? So you just a simple way, and it works the best. And that's what I like. And then when they say, oh, I felt it. So once in France in September, August, I've coached this triathlete, and his hips were down. And I said, well, you're also swimming like this. So just put the chin in. And then the hips went up just by itself, just because he wasn't lifting the upper body up. And then he said, I feel it. And that's what made me so happy that I decided this is what I want to do if I would stop swimming.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great to see that you're going to be able to go into that field and help a lot of swimmers. One of the things you mentioned there was the swimmers were doing too much fast and hard swimming, so you've given them some slower stuff. You mentioned at the start of the call you've got 5 levels or 5 different sort of speeds that you'd normally train at. Can you talk me through those different levels and maybe what pace or speed you'd be doing in those different levels?
So yeah, in France he said fast, and I think fast was never fast. Well, fast, because I think that was always like 75%. So if I'm asking you to jog, at some point you're not gonna or know how to walk very slow or know how to run very fast. You're just gonna be at your speed and like, I can't go out of this speed. And that's what happened in France, I think. And in Germany, it was to learn how to swim very slow. But sometimes the slow is hard because you're just, it's difficult to explain, but you're just like, if you're going to walk very slow, at some point you're going to get yourself tired. And that's the same with the swimming. And so we call that, so I learned it from my coach. We call that level 1, so zone 1. And that's the heart rate zone as well. So we swim with a heart rate monitor. And then we have level 2, and this is where we actually mostly swim on. And that's like, well, some people, it's, I think, yes, well, let's say 70 to 80, 70%, 75%. And then you have level 3, level 4, and level 5. And level 5 is really, really fast. That's like let's say best average. And of course, when you do little sprints, it's called an 8. Well, he puts it in as an 8, but that's because it's on short and it's very explosive. And so most of the stuff we do is sometimes we just have to do 10 times 400 on a level 2. And now I'm seeing that this level 2 was almost my fast in Germany because I've learned because I have this stronger stroke and easy technique. It cost me way less energy than when I was swimming in France because the technique is better, the heart rate is lower. And then you can get to that level 3, 4, 5. But before I couldn't.
The 110 kilometer week, did you say a lot of that was level 1 or level 2?
Level 2, yeah. Most of it. Yeah. So it was mostly the heart rate. So for me, I never knew I had a really high heart rate. So I went to Germany And we did a 5K in altitude, my first camp with them. And they said, level 2. Level 2. Okay. So I had a monitor up here and a monitor on the chest just to check. And the average was 203. And they were standing there. I'm like, what's this? You know, this is not this is her first camp with us. What's this? I say, yeah, well, I don't know. And then lactate 3, whatever they wanted it to be, was the good lactate. And then we were like, is this your heart rate? I said, yeah, probably. Well, once I had with running, I had it on and it says 220. And then Philip Lucas said, throw it out because it doesn't work. But now I'm thinking it worked. So apparently I have this very high heart rate. So if I do my health test, like the biking test with the mask on, I get on the bike, I go up to 200 without moving the legs. So they say like my max is 215. But holding on a 10K, I would probably hold 198 to 202 as an average.
Wow.
And then we didn't know that. So when I put in the polar system, you have these levels. We put it up because my red zone is not going to be the red zone of Florian Velbroek. We're two different people. He has very low heart rate and I'm very high. And that makes it very interesting for the coaches as well to see both Olympic champion, but totally different.
That's so interesting that you've got to back it up with the lactate test, don't you? Like to show that you can sustain a 200 heart rate for 5K and still be it's 3 millimoles. So that's incredible. And so with if around that sort of level 2, what would you typically be holding in those?
Okay, so sessions? When sometimes they take our time, sometimes they don't. So in the morning, I don't even check my times, but I know it's very slow. It's just like I'm trying to do it slower than he wants because he wants a good technique, and he always wants me to be careful because I need to be careful with just the shoulders, and then sometimes I can go crazy and pop a time out. But that's where I'm a little bit older than the rest. And if you pop a time out, then you don't make it through the whole week. So I'm just trying to control everything. I would hold, like if he says 10 times 400, we did it this week. I would hold 452, but that's not fast. I mean, that's just, so I think my goal is always to hold a 112 half, something like that. Or like even if it's a 113 and he says, oh, stroke rate 34, 35. I know I have these long strokes in and the heart rate, but my heart rate would be almost 180 for my level 2. But now it dropped since a few months that I'm very relaxed in the rotation. I think also because I'm fit, it dropped to 165. So I'm learning how to to swim those levels. It took at least 6 months when I got into this group to learn how to swim those levels because I couldn't go to level 5. I don't know what level 1 is. So I was swimming everything in orange. But in the morning sessions, the level 2 was like in green zone, maybe 150 max heart rate. Those are the times mostly when they take the time. Okay, 224 on 200, 448 to 452. But when we drop fast, a lot before Doha, we had in suit, we had 12 400s, and you had to build 1, 2, 3. So let's say level 1, level 2, level 3, level 2, level 3, level 4. Level 3, level 4, level 5, and then let's say 4, 4, 5 to almost 6. So the best you can do at the end. And there I was swimming between, so like a 110, 18, 17. So like I think it was 440, and I descended to 460 in the training. And that's where I knew, okay, this is pretty good. 460 on a 400 at 12 400s. Didn't do that for a very long time. So there was this other set we did. It was a 2K, level 3. He said level 3. And that turned out to be a 1.6 half average, 1.70, 1.6 half. in suit was, and then 15 100s in the same. So you had to descend. I hold like 5 times 1 3 to 1 2, and then 1 2 to 1 1, and then I went 3 times 1 0 in total at the end. And that was for me like, if I can swim in calculating 403 on the last 4 100s of a 15 100 set, I know I'm good. And that I knew like, okay, I'm ready for this. This is like cool times again, so I'm ready.
So is that a typical set that you might do where if you're hitting your times, it gives you that confidence going into the races?
Yeah. So also what's good with my coach, we have a meeting before we do the taper, and I always mark down what we also have it online, like on a document, what we did before Tokyo, what we did before Budapest, what we did before Fukuoka. And I said, I like that set. No, this set was too hard. I had too much muscle pain. We need to change that one into that one. And I want more back free here so that the shoulders are free. So I put a lot of input myself because I'm older, but I also know what I want and what I need. So I think it's actually quite easy at the end in the taper to, I'm not want to say easy to coach me, but I give him feedback. So I think he would learn from me too. And those are some sets that I said, oh, I want to test that gel that I have or something. Can we do this set? And he said, okay, let's do it like this. And that was the 2000 plus 15 100. So there was one set the week before I raced, actually. Yeah.
So are you looking back at what you did in the lead up to those championships, and you're looking at the sets, and are you making notes after each session saying, oh, this is how I felt, this is how I felt the next day, and then using that as your guide for the next time that you do it?
Yeah, so most notes, I know it up here, but I also get sent the times that I did in Fukuoka, for example. One of our sets 2 days before the race is 15 100s, just on 130, but then 2 on that level 2, and then 1 on, he said 3 to 4. But in Fukuoka, I did it level 5, 2 days before your race. And so because everybody's there in the warming up pool, you want to kind of show off or like show that you're good. And I did really good there. I mean, it was quite fast. And now what I listen to him as well, I'm going to do the 3 to 4. I'm going to hold back, sit back and relax and wait for the competition day to show what I can do. So I was swimming 3 seconds or 4 seconds slower than in 3 seconds roundabout, but very controlled. And he was like, okay, she's finally listening, that she's just controlling. And so I didn't panic at all that I was slower because I had that confidence that I built, like the last month, yeah.
It's interesting how you change over time and with years of experience and knowing what works, and then just not having to prove yourself in the warm up, in the preparation for it. It's like, no, let's leave it to race day. It's really interesting. I've got a couple of listener questions here, so I'll go through them. You can answer them as fast or as long as you want. And I'm going to pull up a few more as well if we've had any come in at the last minute. So I'm going to start here. So, and I think we've covered a couple of these already, because a lot of people are wondering, how do you manage your training load? How much do you sleep? All that sort of stuff. It's a lot of people just wonder how you do what you do by the look of it.
So the sleep is at night, it's 6.5 to 7 during the week. But Saturday night to Sunday, it will be 9.5. So I take the sleep sometimes up front on a Saturday, and then I can't fall asleep on a Sunday night. But I take naps 1 hour to 2 hours a day. So like almost 2 hour nap.
What time do your training sessions start in the morning? What time are you waking up?
At home, so at home in Germany, like 6:45, I wake up. So that's actually quite good. And at the warm up. We have to do the warm up at 7:30, and then swim from 8 to 10:15. Then I do my gym round about 1 hour. Uh, Sometimes have physio, and in the afternoon, 16:30 dry land again or warming up, and then 5 to 7 something.
Mm.
Also Saturday twice as well. So at home we always have the 11 session cycle most of the
Gotcha.
time.
Have you always napped throughout the day? Like I used to feel guilty when I would nap throughout the day if I was training, but I'm like, no, hang on a second. Like I deserve this nap. Is this something that you've
Uh,
always done, or?
so I also have this feeling like I need to nap because otherwise I'm not a professional. Or so I have this bad thinking that if I don't nap, I will not swim good this afternoon. So that's what I had in France because I had to do those sets all the time. I'm like, I have to nap, otherwise I'm not. So I have to, and that's something I would not miss. I think when I would be not an athlete anymore. It's like when I go to do groceries, there's a time limit because I need to look at my nap time, and then I need to cook still, and then uh, everything I do has a time limit because of being an athlete. So if we go eat sushi, but it's already 8:30, normally I'm almost lying down and cooling down. So I have to. So that's something. Yeah, would be weird that not to have a time limit anymore.
Mm. That's what you need to do as a professional, though, isn't it? Like, have you always had that mentality and that attitude, or is it something that you've developed over time?
Oh, I've always had it. So also those naps. I think when I was little, and then my mother had naps with me, and then when I went to yeah, then later when I was 14, I already had the naps. I had to wake up very early.
Mm.
I think that's why my sleeping isn't that good because I have those longer naps. But in total, that makes it 8 hours a day. What they say that you have to have. You have to have 8 hours a day of sleep.
Mm.
But I think since I'm little, I didn't want to go to those girly parties when I was 6 or hang out with girls. I just wanted to run on the field with my brother and do those competitions that I'll outrun him. Yeah, that's something that was already inside of me. Or like my once of my first swimming sessions, I asked my mom, did I do a better time than last time? And she said we didn't do times, but I saw my brother and sister are 6 to 5 years older, and I saw them always running up to my mother at competitions and ask about their time. So my first lessons were like, did I improve my time? And so
Mm.
it's something that was already inside of me when I was younger to have that, yeah, sort of fixed schedule and everything for the sport and want to improve.
Mm. That must be really interesting for your mother to see that same trait and characteristic play out now, because I've got two young kids. They're 7 and 5, and already there's some differences between them. But I'm looking forward to seeing that over the next couple of years. Those same traits hopefully play out, and hopefully it's the good ones. But we'll wait and see. Um,
Yeah.
the Another question I've got here is if you couldn't swim or couldn't coach, what do you think you'd be doing?
I would have also done sports, but I would have been a runner because at the age of 14, I had to choose, and I was a really good runner. Like I did the what is it, cross country run, and also on the in the stadium, the 1,000 meters was my favorite,
Hmm.
and I was really good at it back then. I would have been a runner, I think. Yeah.
Do you still run?
No, so at some point, of course, when your body changed, so first my legs was really those. I really had like two skinny legs, those running legs. But then I started to swim, so you get the shoulders. So the whole body changed when I started to swim more and more. And then I got more sort of like those stronger legs. But I think that's something I want to do after my career because running always, when I run, I can clear my mind. When I swim, I have to focus on my technique. And running is something that clears my mind. When I had off, I would run. But now lately you get or a little bit of back pain or a little bit of knee pain, or so you have
Mm.
to really build it slowly. So it's really hard for a swimmer now to go and run if you don't do it every day.
Mm. And outside of sport, what are your hobbies? What are the things that you're interested in? What do you like to do?
Well, I really like food. Of course, I have to eat a lot, but and so I would say I would like to go to restaurants, movies, to the beach. Well, in the Netherlands we have one, but it's not as nice as yours, of course. But I would want to learn how to surf. Uh, yeah, there's always stuff I want to learn. I would like to have a little parachute jump or something. I would like the danger stuff, like doing stuff like that. But of course, well, when I'm here in Germany, I must say I'm very boring. Well, also because I have this goal, I think, but and you don't have energy. So sometimes you're just at home on Saturday and like, oh, let's go to sleep at 9 and then get those 10 hours of sleep. So that's yeah, we sometimes go out for dinner, but I must say that's it here. And when I'm in the Netherlands, I do some stuff with my parents. Like, well, I would also like to walk the dogs or cycle because we cycle a lot in the Netherlands. Since I do totally different stuff when I'm at my parents, which I want to do when I'm not swimming anymore.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I wonder if you'll be able to, just thinking back to the running and the swimming, I wonder if you'll be able to, when you do eventually retire, if you can swim and just clear the mind and clear your head, or if you'll still be focused on every single stroke.
Yeah, I think I would prefer to swim in open water because you don't know the pace there and you're just
Mm.
swimming. I think I couldn't handle swimming in the pool and just feeling weird and not and then when you have holidays, you already have that feeling that you're like, oh, those times are terrible. I'm not gonna look anymore. But I think I couldn't handle it to swim all the time in a pool
Mm.
and see those times change and change is too slower.
Yeah, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, when you if you do learn to surf, you'll have the paddling aspect under control. That will be fine. It'll just be the wave catching and the balance. But I'm sure it won't
Yeah.
take you won't take you too long. Uh, so Sharon, you're leading up to the Olympics now. That's going to be the number one priority after you've done back to back at World Champs. So aside from leading into the Olympics, what else have you got coming up, and how can people find out about the camps that you're running and those sorts of things?
So I have I think a new project coming up, but I'm still working on it. So I know more about it in 1 or 2 weeks. But so the first camp is gonna be the camp in September in Mallorca, and people can still subscribe. I have the info on my Instagram. So if people want to join, it's a 1 week camp, 1 September to 15 September. Well, they can choose the first week or the second week. And then after that, I'm going to have a little bit of camps. But that's still not sure at the moment, or we're going to fix where to hold the camps. And I'll open up the online coaching more because now I have like I'm putting like 9 hours a week in, and that's the max I can do. So it's like I have these 7 people, but I want to focus on these 7 people and give them the attention they need.
Mm.
But in September, I'll open up much more spots. So if people want to be coached online by me, that's would be really great. And then after Paris, I take 4 to 5 months. I'm gonna say, okay, let's see if I still want to be a professional athlete or not. And then I'm gonna make my decision. But I want to build my career next to it, or that's what I'm doing already the last year. But building it more, yeah, strongly, and want to coach already in September, so I have something to do while I have this time off. And
Mm.
I'm gonna go skiing in December. So that's something wow, I, something you couldn't do. I did it 2 3 years ago after Tokyo, but it's something I just wanted to do as well because I'm not swimming at the moment.
Yeah, well, you will have definitely earned that and deserved that break. And we'll include links to your camps and Instagram and all that sort of stuff so people can find out about it. And we'll get out in front of the people who listen to this podcast and who follow us online as well. So Shane, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and big congratulations on your back-to-back world champs.
Thank you very much.
Wishing you nothing but the best for the Olympics. We're looking forward to Paris and can't wait to watch you there.
Thank you.